Hey everyone, welcome. So today we are diving into one of those verses. You know the kind. It sounds super simple on the surface, but it's one that has kind of tripped people up for, well, centuries. It's this statement about love and obedience that can feel, I don't know, heavy. But what if we've been reading it all wrong this whole time?
Here it is, John 14:15. If you love me, keep my commandments. And let's just be honest, that first word, if, it immediately puts you on the back foot, right? It just sounds so conditional. It can feel like a test, like a transaction where you have to perform to prove your love is the real deal.
So that's the big question we're tackling. Is this verse a demand for proof? Is it some kind of performance review for your soul? Or is there something way deeper, something much more beautiful going on here? All right, let's get into it.
To even begin to answer that, we've got to get our heads around this fundamental tension that you see running through the entire biblical story, and that is the massive difference between God's love and, well, ours.
Okay, so if you look through the Bible, there's this really consistent picture of God's love. It's steady. It's unconditional. I mean, John says Jesus loved them to the end, even when he knew betrayal was coming. Paul goes on and on about how nothing can separate us from that love. But our love? Yeah, that's a totally different story, isn't it? Jesus himself warns that the love of many will grow cold. Our love can drift, it can falter, we can even abandon that first love. And right there, that difference, that is the absolute key that's going to unlock this whole thing for us.
To really get a feel for this dynamic, let's step away from all the theological jargon for a second and just dive into a simple story, a little parable about a boy and his lantern.
So, once upon a time, there was this little boy, let's call him Eli. And everywhere he went, he carried this small lantern. It wasn't just any old lantern, this thing was a personal gift from the king. And the flame inside, that flame was love, placed in there the day he was born.
As a kid, Eli just loved his lantern. He held it up high for everyone to see. But then, as he got older, life started to happen. Storms rolled in. Some people made fun of his light, told him it wasn't bright enough. The world just started to feel like a really harsh, critical place.
And so, what do? Instinctively, he started to protect this precious little flame. To keep it from getting blown out or criticized, he wrapped it up in a cloth of fear. Then to shield it from the laughter, he added another layer, a layer of hurt. And to hide it whenever he felt unworthy, he just covered the whole thing with a thick, heavy cloth of shame.
Now listen, this is the most important part of the story. The flame inside, it never actually went out. The king's gift was permanent. But after years and years of wrapping it up in all these protective layers, Eli himself couldn't see its light anymore. He had hidden it so well, he pretty much forgot it was even there. You see, those cloths in the story, that's what you could call the veil of adulthood. They're all the protective layers we build around our hearts as we try to navigate all the complexities and the pains of just growing up.
And what's so fascinating here is how you can actually map that journey. Think about it. A child trusts before they calculate the risk. A child loves before they analyze if the other person is worthy. But as adults, we get guarded, we get cynical, we learn to hide behind our shame, and we build up these huge walls just to feel safe. We start living behind that veil.
And this is why these words from Jesus are just so powerful. He says we have to become like little children. Now, he's not telling us to be childish or naive. He's inviting us to find our way back to that original, open-hearted trust, to start tearing down the walls we've spent so long building.
Okay, so this brings us right to the big reveal of the story, where the parable and this idea of childlike faith and that really tough verse from John all come crashing together.
Let's go back to our story. The king finds Eli, sitting in the dark, totally unable to see his own light. So what does the king do? Does he judge him for hiding the lantern? No. He just gently, lovingly starts to unwrap those cloths of fear and shame. And when he does, he reveals the flame inside, which somehow seems to be blazing brighter than ever before. And this is the moment. The king completely reframes the whole idea for Eli. He says, guarding your lantern doesn't mean hiding it. It means remembering the flame I placed inside you. And wow, that changes everything about what it means to keep or guard something so precious. This just flips our whole understanding of the word commandments on its head. See, we tend to think of it as a checklist, right? A list of rules we have to follow to earn God's love. But that love is already there. It's the constant in the equation. So what if commandments aren't a checklist at all? What if they're a lifeline? The actual practical things we do to keep our love, our own fragile, flickering flame, from getting buried and forgotten.
So what are these lifelines really? Well, the context right there in the book of John gives us the answer. It's about staying connected, like a branch on a vine. It's about abiding, which really just means resting in a relationship of love. It's about following that one big new command to love one another. And here's the best part, it's not something you have to do alone. It's all aided by the promised Spirit.
Now for our final section. We're going to see that this isn't some new modern take on things. Not at all. It's actually an ancient pattern, one that's woven through the entire biblical story. And this timeline just lays it out so clearly. You see this pattern again and again and again. In Genesis, divine love kicks things off. Human love drifts away. In Exodus, God delivers his people. Their love flickers. The prophets are all about God pursuing a people whose love has wandered off. I mean, even with Jesus standing right there in person, his own disciples stumble. The story is just remarkably consistent.
So, let's just sum up this huge overarching pattern. Divine love is the constant. It's steady. It's the initiator. It's persistent. Human love, on the other hand, it's fragile. It can get cold, and it really needs to be nurtured. So the commandments? They're not a test to earn a love that's already a done deal. They are the very means by which we nurture and sustain our connection to that love.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with a whole new perspective. If you love me, keep my commandments isn't a threat. It's not a warning that you might lose his love. It's a tender, wise invitation to protect your own love, to keep your lantern from getting covered up, and to keep your heart from growing cold. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What if the whole point isn't about running around frantically trying to prove that your love is good enough? What if instead, it's about accepting a gentle hand to help you unwrap all those layers you've built around your heart and simply letting the love that was in there all along finally shine again?